So hello and welcome to the Safe Wellbeing podcast with myself, Katie, and I am delighted today to be joined by Beck Wathall of Wathall's down in Derbyshire. Am I saying that right?
Yeah. You are, well done.
Excellent, thank you. I always worry about getting it wrong. Now, Beck, you are sixth generation?
Correct.
Okay. Mum, who many within Safe will know, Helen, who is fifth generation.
Yeah.
But Beck, I'm basically going to hand it over to you and anyone listening to our conversation right now. Who is Beck? Who is Beck within the funeral industry? And just hand it over to you, put you on the spot.
Oh, no problem. I'm the sixth generation to work at my family business, along with my sister Charlotte, and my brother sometimes, Hugo. He occasionally moonlights, makes an appearance. So what is my job within this lovely industry? I am probably quite unique in that I don't arrange or conduct funerals. So I'm entirely behind the scenes. I do the website and the social media, any sort of like branding type, the image of the business and like the entire brand, that is my responsibility. And the way that we look, that is now all of a sudden something that I am so passionate about. So yeah, that's pretty much what I do.
Well, and very different because a lot of people just associate the industry with you are a funeral director, you arrange and conduct funerals, but many forget there's another side to it. And I think this is
Yeah.
That we've connected over the years, that there's many pieces to the puzzle. But I want to start because as much as you have such a different role within the industry, you're also a mum of two girls. So I basically want to go in and ask, how do you balance it? How do you balance that alongside being passionate and giving as much to your role that you do, especially because you've gone from having one beautiful little girl to now having two?
So, I had my first daughter, Rosie, during COVID. So I went home, I got sent home on the 12th of March while I was pregnant, and I didn't come back to work for almost 2 years into the office. So I was working remotely with that, and that was challenging. It's probably like one of the hardest times that I've ever had. I struggled like ridiculously. My mum met Rosie through the window. It was I had no help. I was totally alone, and it was really challenging. And then work came back, and I thrived because it was a challenge and different. Yeah, it was fantastic, like to have a distraction that was meant that I could talk to adults. And then Margot was not too long ago. And that was a totally different experience, and balancing everything is hard, really hard. I mean, everyone knows that this job is not 9 to 5. It is a job that is 24 hours a day. And even though that I'm not on the funeral side of things, the behind the scenes stuff still continues throughout, every day, the weekends. It interferes with pretty much every holiday that I've ever been on. And it's balancing everything is getting easier. I wouldn't say that I'm an absolute expert or brilliant at it, but yeah, you just have to make sure that you're making the time for you.
I think from getting to know you and the conversations we had, I would definitely agree that that's really important to you. And it came on to how taking time for yourself, so your well-being, your mental health, while being a mum, but also being in a completely different role, like in comparison to your colleagues that are the funeral directors that they arrange, they go out and conduct a funeral. Your mental health and well-being is just as important to all of us that are funeral directors in the front line. But how, for you, coping with the demands of the job, being the full-time one behind the scenes, how have you been able to deal with that while still making time for yourself?
Basically, there is a reason that I don't arrange, and it's because I am incredibly emotional. Like, I cry at everything, and
Yeah.
I take on people's pain as my own. And I really struggle with that, which sort of leaned to me to being behind the scenes. But I'm crap with finance, so there was no room for me there.
Okay.
So we basically created this role, and within this role is my ability to control what I can and can't do. So I protect myself in that sort of capacity from a lot of the difficult things that I know that a lot of the arrangers and the actual funeral staff do experience and expose themselves to. So I get to protect myself with my job, and I get to do the bits that I'm comfortable with. That is the most important thing for me. Being a mum in that, I struggled a lot with like intrusive thoughts while I was on maternity leave, with my second in particular, but my first was still, there was a lot going on, and like the everyone being so scared of this pandemic that nobody really knew anything about. And I sought a lot of help with my second, but I didn't get any with my first because there wasn't any available.
Yeah.
And that massively impacted who I was as a person. And it almost removed my ability to. I probably used to sit a little bit too much and listen to people baffle me with all of their nonsense. I don't have time for it anymore. I'll just, yeah, removed that. I don't need to listen to that anymore. That's yeah, the way that I deal with it. I just choose not to.
I think that's a good life lesson, not just, you know, in the profession, but personally you could probably take it into effect. But I want to go back, we talked about, you know, what you're good at and what you're not good at. So from reading that and putting on my coaching hat, put it on for a second while being a funeral director, it's really focusing on where your strengths are, and knowing that your weaknesses are something that would maybe not benefit you being, like, say, a funeral director. So do you think that you focusing on your strengths and creating the role that you're now in, developing that passion more and more, has developed your strengths mentally, you know, in a
Oh, for
well-being
sure.
that's given you such a higher standard for yourself?
Definitely, because the things that I am passionate about, so like the bereavement support side of things, the communications, being like spreading our personality as a business, the actual feel of a funeral directors when you're walking through the door does not need to be drab and depressing. Like all of these things that is challenging these stereotypes, and I've done that my whole life. I would probably say that that is a strength that I was born with, and something that I absolutely thrive in. I don't understand why, when you're coming into these businesses as the next generation, everybody's got to bring something new and something that is going to grow the business rather than just maintain and stay the same. So there's many different things that each family member has brought in and changed the business for the better. And mine just happened to be the marketing side and the branding side of the business.
Do you feel that then if you were emotional Beck, right, just I'll give you a scenario, let's visualize. So if you were emotional Beck and you were funeral directing, you were sitting with a family, do you think that the more you would have done that, the worse impact it would have had on your well-being, and maybe would have had a different outcome?
Absolutely. I would not have coped at all. There's still times like, obviously everybody comes in and says, oh, I've just we're all in the office together, so this office chat, we've just done an arrangement for a family, this has happened, and I'm like, I can't listen before I start taking these things on. Like it becomes personal and really difficult for me to process, especially when there's children involved, whether that be the death of a parent or the death of a grandparent, or in fact the death of a child. It is incredibly difficult for me. But like if you look at like me and my sister, we're chalk and cheese, and we are totally different, and she'll deal with things in a totally different way. And I just think that the strengths that you see within people, it's important to work with those and not against them. A lot of the time, like when I tell people that what do you tell people when, like, what your job is, when they ask you, like, oh, I work at a funeral director's, they're like, oh, like the initial question is every time, do you see the bodies? And I'm like, I don't have anything to do with that. I do all the pretty things and the support side, and I'm happy with that.
Do you think that, and it's something that I've found, diving in and being a part of this side of things now, especially wellbeing, it gives you a sense of being able to look after yourself differently because you're able to give something back or give something more differently. As you say, that next generation's coming through, it's not the same as it used to be, things are ever changing in the world, that how you deal with that gives a sense of then not taking on that personal responsibility when listening to your colleagues speaking about the child that you have in your care and looking after, or the grandparent or things. It just allows you to keep your focus on your strength.
For sure. And so I listen to these things, and they're all happening around me, and I take the bits from that, and that the little conversations that people have says, oh yeah, they really thought that it'd be great if we'd had this available for them. I'm like, okay, that's fine, I can do that. If they need something, I can fill that resource gap. Like, but as an arranger, you don't have the time to do things like that. And having a person like me, we're in an incredibly like privileged position that we can have somebody like me, because not every business can, but have somebody like me that is solely focused on improving the resources and the actual branding of the business. That is, we are fortunate for that, for sure.
And from the conversation we've had so far, and obviously I'm biased because you have told me about you're very motivated.
Oh yeah.
So I want to divulge into that motivation, because the way that you're spoken to me, I would love more people to be like that, and I know that I said that to you. And fitness is something that you've been trying to balance, trying to find your feet with again. But anyone listening to this, the bet that before you were a mum, fitness was important to you as much as it is important for you getting back into it now. So what were the benefits for you, not just physically but in a well-being sense, of having exercise a part of your everyday life? And then how now, going into being able to still balance that motivation to do exercise, to be physically active, while being what you are in your role, as well as being a mum?
So the way I see it, my body is the thing that's going to carry me through to later life. So I'm going to have this one body, I have to look after it. If I want to see my kids grow up and have their own kids and chase them down the beach at 60, 70, 80, I have to look after my body. I also hate asking for help. So if I want to lift a box, I want to be able to lift the box. Like, it is important to me that I can physically lift the box. Putting the physical side to the side of it, the mental side, I get an hour and a half of just no thoughts. And that is a beautiful place to be. And that is where the creativity starts to happen. Like, you always have your best ideas when you're in the shower at the gym. And it is the time where your mind is quiet and the problem solving part of your brain is most relaxed. And then, oh, let's think about this. And you've got the capacity to be able to think about it, because you're not thinking about the 10 loads of washing that you've got to do, or the fact that you forgot to buy milk. There's all of these things that as a mum you don't get to. It's just the mental load is huge, but when you're at the gym, that mental load is gone, and it's just you and the dumbbells, you and the treadmill, you and the squat rack. Like, those sorts of things it's like peace, genuine.
And then from that being you know, you're halfway of a rep in a squat and your creative juices are flowing, does that then allow you to come back into work the next day after the weekend and really put that creativity to work and come out and create something and furthermore within the role? So is it having the benefits for everything, not just physically but mentally,
absolutely,
professionally?
Absolutely. So I don't know whether it's the same for everybody else, but first thing in the morning, if I exercise then, my mind and my productivity for the rest of the day is so much better. I can think clearer. I tend to make better choices as a human being around like food, and I'm not filling myself full of sugary crap to try and give myself enough energy to get through the evening or that afternoon. There's so many benefits to just moving my body, and then at lunchtime we'll go on a walk, and it's just, I mean, we're in Derby and we're not in the nicest of areas, but you are outside in the fresh air, and just the whole movement of your body and becoming and building towards something, it takes so much perseverance and so much, like, so many knockbacks, that when you are in a situation like that at work as well, like, you know that you can get through that. You've done worse workouts. I literally said when I had my first, I said from day one, I don't want anybody in the room. I just want like my partner and the midwife. Don't want anybody else there. And then as soon as they ask you questions and you're in the middle of labour, yeah, sure, everyone can come in. And there was a guy that was there. He was a training paramedic, and he'd never experienced a birth before. And he was asking the lady, "Are they all like this?" And I was like, I didn't think I was doing anything different to what every other mum would be able to do. But apparently having a child with no pain relief is quite unusual. And I just said to him at the end, I've done worse workouts. I have done worse workouts than giving birth. And I was very like, when you've done really, really difficult things in the gym, everything else becomes less of a challenge. You're just like, oh, it's fine. We'll just make it, work through it. It's fine. It's a process. You follow it.
It would have been the other way around, but for, I guess, any mum that's listening to this will...
Yeah, you've got it, girls. You've got it.
Maybe be able to relate to that, which is quite, to me, that listening to that, I'm not a mum myself, but that's really empowering and such a different way to look at it. So if you go into the gym, just, that's kind of sort of like, if you were to go into the gym now, or listen to anyone that, is like, oh, I can't be bothered going to the gym today, or I can't be bothered going for my lunchtime walk today, do you then think back, well, actually, that for me is a lot easier, or actually childbirth is a lot easier than, it just, again, it could be completely personal.
The mental shift had to happen for me, being in this environment where you've got death constantly. To go into childbirth thinking that the worst could happen, you have to make like a mental shift, and all of that shift happened for me at the gym. I spent that time alone in the gym thinking about these things. I was like, right, we'll mentally shift this. For people who are thinking, let's not go, there is a reason that you feel better after you've been, and it is movement is the best form of therapy. It's so important, and making yourself a priority. How many times like you hear people say, I don't have time for that, I don't have time for that. And it's like, you do. Everybody has got the time. It's just not everybody wants to go and do like insane workouts and things like that, but go on a walk, like just move, and you will feel so much better and clearer. It is, the gym is it's a safe place for a lot of people, and also a lot of people's worst nightmare. But that doesn't mean that there isn't something out there that you can't find that you would love. just as much as I love going to the gym.
Yeah, for me, it's a place to hide, especially if, you know, a lot of us as funeral directors and businesses, because we serve our local communities, and, you know, we do get recognised locally, or, you know, people want to come and speak to us, you know, it's a lot of conversation, it's a lot of talking. Sometimes it's difficult. I know at times that I've certainly felt that the gym's a hiding place, because I can just go in, I can put my headphones in. I bought noise cancelling headphones because I can completely zone out. And I think it totally, you know, movement is the best form of dealing with that stress, or it then allows you to go in and have those conversations that you maybe can't really be bothered having today with the people that are a bit more nosier than others locally, you know, so you can you can deal with that. But I want to go back to, you know, being a mum, and if the two girls came to you at any point and said, Mum, I want to be in the funeral industry. I asked Innes Caps this same question because she's got two young kids as well. So I'm asking you, got really young kids. In terms of well-being, what would you feel that, you know, they would need to be prepared for, or have, you know, things in place now that allows it to be easier if they wanted to come into it for protection of them as then potentially the next generation?
So with kids, you can't teach them anything that they have to unlearn later in life. So we talk quite openly at home about things like death. It's we're at an age now where animals and things like that are great use for teaching. And Rosie is like me; she is really emotional, and it has crossed my mind, like, God, what if she wants to? Because I never wanted to. I never wanted to come and work for the family business. It was just like there was an unfortunate set of circumstances that led to me being invited to come here. And it was, my mum was like, can you just give me 18 months? I was like, yep, I can do that. I can manage 18 months. I'll just help with like admin. No problem. Here we are 8 years later, and I'm still here. To prepare them for anything like this, talking about it early and young, and getting them to understand the concept of death would probably be like the most important thing to me. But I openly talk about people that have died, and a lot of people find that quite uncomfortable, and they don't like talking about people that they know that have died, and that's just the way that I cope with it. But having things like the gym, the ability to share that they're struggling, without judgment, and having a decent group of friends around them that sort of get the industry but don't, and people that aren't overly like overbearing on them, and preparing them on how to answer the questions of oh, do you see this, and oh, do you see that, and it's giving them the answers beforehand, and letting them explore what they feel comfortable with, because not everyone is comfortable with being in a room with a dead body, and some people are, and they're at home in that space and they feel comfort and peace in that, whereas some people are like heart pounding, sweaty palms, get me out of this room. And you just preparing your children and giving them the safe space to explore that, is just important. Transparency, for sure. Any questions that they ask, you have to answer them with honesty. And I mean, Rosie's 4, she's like, she asked me the most random questions, and I don't know the answer to a lot of them. So I don't know right now, sweetheart, but I'll find out for you and I'll let you know. And we talk all the time about bugs, and there was a dead bee in the garden the other day, and she was like, you take it to work with you, mummy, and things like that. I was like, okay. Yeah, off it went with me in a little envelope. So yeah, it's just being able to talk about it from a young age, I think, is really important to them being able to make that decision informed later in life.
So then I'm going to put it back on your mum at this point. I'm going to put it back on. So you're young Beck, so you are in the position of Rosie and Margot, and you've grown up with the industry. How did mum prepare you?
We went to work with her.
Yeah.
I was in my mum's office under her desk and a baby bouncer from 3 weeks old. You have no choice when it you have no choice as a mum, like, right, I've got to go back to work, like this company's like, I'm running this company. She had to take me. So I'd like to think that I am like the most committed in this business because I have been here from 3 weeks old.
I think you've got such a unique selling point.
Absolutely.
I would have used that for some form of pay rise or something. If my dad's listening to this, yes, probably I would have used it to my advantage.
I want a badge.
Yeah, badge means more a sticker like used to get when we were younger. You know, I think that being around the industry, again, I can, you know, totally relate. I can relate it in two ways of being around the industry all my life. And also, you know, when that previous generation asks you to come and help for a little bit. I wasn't as long as you. I was 2 days, and 10 years later, I'm still doing it. So
2 days.
Yeah, it's such a whirlwind, and there's so many changes. But you do think about the generations after us of how much we witnessed of change. You know, from what it was when we came into the industry to what it is now. You know, your kids are that next generation right now. You know, stereotypically and traditionally, there's kind of like an association with that. You know, it's there. But for you, I want to know any of the biggest struggles that you've had in your 8 years of being, you know, fully involved. So like a biggest struggle and how you've been able to focus on you to help get you through that someone else right now, if they're struggling, could help them.
When we came, so me and my sister started a month apart, and it was after the death of my stepdad. So we came in to fill gaps within the office that my mum was struggling with at the time, and quite happily working along and getting on with things. I was not quite prepared for everybody expecting me to know what I was doing when I started. I mean, I literally, we were thick, like in the thick of grief, and I wasn't functioning. None of us were. We were all muddling through it together, and then but everybody expected me to know what I was doing. So they expected me to know all the lingo. Even though I've grown up with it, I've not arranged. I don't know what people are calling different things, and some people refer to things differently. And like that, for me, was difficult because there were some, at the time, some team members that were not team players, and they weren't there to support. They were almost there to tear us down, and it was really difficult. And they no longer work here, but that was very unexpected from everybody. We could not understand really what was going on, and that was really, really hard to be constantly questioned and pulled apart as a character and like told that you don't have a place. That was weird, completely. Like the hostility, and I think it all came from fear. They didn't know what would happen with their jobs by the next generation coming in, and it was, they sealed their own fate with the way that they treated everybody in the office, and it just turned into a really difficult thing to deal with, really difficult. And then the second thing, because I would say there were two, would be struggling with the thoughts that I experienced when I had my girls. They were really difficult. So I don't know whether like you're familiar with intrusive thoughts, but the level that I was experiencing was not normal. They were so you're in a situation. I was walking down the road with Margot in the pushchair, and your head plays out a reality that isn't yours. So I literally saw as I'm walking down there, a car coming up behind me, driving on the pavement, taking us out. She died in this vision. You can hear, you can smell it, you can feel it, like your body reacts as if it has happened. And that's terrifying, genuinely terrifying. And a lot of that came from the amount of death that we see here, and the sheer amount of babies that do die that no one knows about. It's not talked about. You always see like these older, I say older people, like it's always tragic when somebody has died. Like there's a loss of a life and a loss of the future. But when it comes to babies in particular, nobody talks about it. They always like hide it, and it's like shameful that it's happened, and it's not at all. There's something that's really difficult that's happened to a family and horrific, and they need support. No one talks. But here we see it. And I was shocked at how many there were preterm and obviously stillborn. It's a relentless amount, and it is awful. And then it was all compounded by the investigations that there are in the maternity services in this country. And those thoughts were thick and fast, and they were every day, and they were constant for about 3-4 months. And then I changed my diet. I cut out sugar, like ultra processed foods. They all came out. I drank loads more water, moved my body, and they slowly started to stop.
That was your focus away from that. And
sure.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That's something I have heard about it before, just because I like studying the mind and things like that. I'd heard about it. Anyone that hasn't, there's different forms of it. It's not a time scale on lasting or things like that. It can develop into other things, but you know, you've lived it, it's your reality. And to finish off, to come back, I think it'd be a nice way to, from how you've focused and how you've learned from everything that you've gone through, for anyone listening, I always finish with this question: for any advice, tips, or messages, you know, to any other mums listening to our conversation, to any of us next generation, you know, people within the industry, or just like anything from Beck to the world that's listening to us having this conversation right now that you think would help, include me, that would help us.
So I'll split that into two. So for the mums out there, you've probably got a load of washing in the washing machine. Do not forget to put it in the tumble dryer later. That is an essential part of your day. You do not want smelly washing. And then for everybody else, ask for help if you need it, genuinely, because I suffered for probably 3 months longer than I needed to. And just ask for help. And that help may come in the form of a friend, a professional, your parents, whatever you believe in, but just ask for that help and work your way through it. Your mind is an incredible thing, and it can work through so many things that you have got no idea. Like, you just drink the water and move your body and it will do its thing.
I think you've summed that up amazingly well, Beck. I can't thank you enough for sharing everything that you have, and for anyone listening back to our conversation today, you know, very, very inspiring and very nice to hear about. You know, we're not focusing on you going out conducting a funeral, we're focusing on you and the other side of it, and that is definitely another part that is forgotten about. And no matter what role we have in the industry, it's as important as someone driving the hearse, you know, that the general public see at a funeral. So it's been a great insight into that, and I've thoroughly enjoyed having this conversation. So Beck, thank you very much for your time today.
You are more than welcome. Thank you.